like avian athletes, are meticulously prepared for their weekly flights. Depending on the race distance, we adjust their feed accordingly. For short sprints, we provide a lighter diet, while for middle distances, a bit more is given. As for long races, peanuts are usually included to provide the birds with additional energy. However, the question remains, are we meeting their nutritional needs adequately? Our feeding practices often rely on intuition and personal experience, but doubts linger. What if the wind changes unexpectedly? Today, we seek more information and ask whether any research has been conducted on the energy requirements of pigeons during flight. What role do proteins, carbohydrates, sugars, and fats play in their diet? Researchers worldwide have begun conducting fascinating tests on pigeons fitted with transmitters on their backs. These transmitters, along with satellite technology, enable us to track the birds' flight paths and gather valuable data. Although this field is still in its early stages, we eagerly anticipate the insights it will provide. At present, the transmitters are still too heavy to provide realistic and reliable information, so we must rely on our existing knowledge. Nevertheless, science has made progress. In wind tunnels at the University of Ghent in Belgium, pigeons were tested while flying against the wind, unable to advance even a meter. By fitting them with a mask to collect their exhaled breath, researchers could precisely analyze the fuel they utilized. These experiments yielded interesting results. During the first 10 minutes of flight, pigeons primarily rely on their carbohydrate reserves, stored in the white muscle, to gain altitude and speed. Once these carbohydrates are depleted, the birds switch to using fat stored in their bodies, specifically in the red muscle fibers, for the next approximately 50 minutes. These blood fats consist of roughly 97.5% unsaturated fatty acids and serve as the fuel for the journey back home. The light blood fats in their bodies are derived from the carbohydrate and fat-rich grains consumed during the last 3 meals. If this fuel is exhausted after 1 hour, the birds gradually shift to utilizing the fat reserves stored in their red muscle fibers. During flight, a pigeon consumes approximately 3 to 3.5 grams of fat per hour, but the exact amount varies based on the flight's difficulty and the efficiency of the pigeon's own system. Some pigeons have heavy, robust muscles like bodybuilders, while others have long, slender muscles like marathon runners. The former utilize energy more efficiently. With this newfound knowledge of a pigeon's energy expenditure per hour, can we calculate their specific fat requirements based on the fat content of their feed? Let's consider an example. Suppose we are preparing our pigeons for the Orleans race, which typically takes 6 hours of flying. As previously mentioned, pigeons rely on carbohydrates as their fuel during the first hour of flight, followed by the utilization of fat reserves in the red muscle fibers for the remaining 5 hours. Let's assume an average fat consumption of 3.0 grams per hour. Therefore, the birds would require 5 hours times 3.0 grams equals 15 grams of fat stored in their red muscle fibers. By knowing the fat content of our feed, we can determine if it provides sufficient energy. For instance, if our feed contains 5% fat and we typically provide 200 grams of feed per bird per week, we would only be supplying 10 grams of fat reserves, which is insufficient for this race. On the other hand, a feed with 9% fat, equivalent to 18 grams of fat, would be too rich for this particular flight. Claims such as this feed has the ideal fat content are relative and context dependent. We can adjust the energy level of the feed by adding a low-fat diet. There are many reasons to buy my racing pigeon method. Here are some of the best reasons. You will get excellent results. It's a very simple system to use. It's affordable. I have had over 400 first prize winners. It's adaptable to any situation. You can use it with any racing method, natural, widowhood, young birds. It's a very effective method. There is no need to spend a lot of money on fancy pigeon products. It's a reliable system and it is foolproof to use. Professional athletes, race horses, take the same products. There is science behind this, not just hearsay. It is all to do with red blood cells and oxygen in the blood. Without that, a pigeon will not race well, or an athlete will not win a race. If he has low oxygen in his blood, the above is fact and is 100% science. There are a few things you can do to improve your chances of winning at racing pigeons. One of the most important things is to learn as much as you can about the sport. You'll need to know the different types of pigeons, how to train them, and how to race them. Another key factor is practice. You'll need to be able to fly your pigeons competently in order to win races. And, of course, you'll need to have the funds to invest in racing pigeons and other racing equipment.
Which were marketed as channel mixtures. Well, actually you were doing exactly opposite to what you need to be.
I think a lot of fanciers fail to think just how much effort a pigeon puts in when he's racing. If you look how many times a pigeon's wing beats in a minute, I think it's something like 600 times in a minute or something like that. You can imagine the amount of effort and energy needed to do that. You have to put the fuel in the way of food. That's your petrol, so to speak.
Then the most important is give light food. It's not necessary that you or me, that we go all days to the restaurant, because on 1 month we are sick. That's also by the pigeons. So light food.
If they could come back now and see how fast pigeons come from 400, 500 miles on these light mixtures, carbohydrate and fats, they'd be astounded.
But the food doesn't want to be too strong, too rich, not too much protein.
Even I can go back when 12 hours was nothing from Nance, and that was flying 360, 365 miles. There'd be 12 hours, the leading pigeons, and you'd get a few on the day. Now, I mean, they come as if they're coming from 50 miles, if it's anything like a day. It's just a total turnaround completely.
Light food, and that is the most important. Because with my food you cannot give too much. They stop when they come on the barley. Barley, that's good word. They stop then. And when they stop on with barley, then you said, I am away to tomorrow, I come tomorrow back.
Modern racing pigeons quite different from the old racing pigeon. It's more an athlete and smaller, especially at the back. First thing you should look at is the shape. The bird should look like a pear, like I told you before. Normally it's smaller. The heads of the cocks are more hen-like than in the past. They have bigger heads. And the balance is very important. When I handle a bird, automatically the first thing I do is push the breastbone a little bit. If the beak opens, it's a poor bird, or it's a poor shape, poor health. Then check the balance, just 1 second if it has a good balance. Then open the wing. The flights, the last flights should be rounded here, not like a scissors, a little bit rounded. Yeah. And of course, these feathers should be on top of each other. This means it's good condition. When it is like this, it's bad condition. That's no condition. They should be on top of those small feathers.
Good pigeon that's motivated, that comes from a happy loft and has the love of home, will beat a super pigeon that has no motivation and comes from an unhappy loft. Pigeon's very territorial. Once a pigeon decides he wants to have that perch, he'll defend it with his life. And this is what a pigeon comes home to, this environment that he lives in.
Love for the territory is so important because pigeons are are like us humans. We also love our home, and animals and other birds, and pigeons are quite the same, and people should be more aware of that.
Another point that a lot of fanciers overlook is rest. Racing pigeons need rest. And a fancier whose pigeons aren't in condition, and he decides to work them, take them training in his car day after day to bring that condition, most certainly won't get them into condition. And he'll be one of the easiest people to fly against on the race day. Cleaning 2-3 times a day disturbs the pigeons. They're not happy. I know it looks nice, but it's not that important.
If you're lying in the house at night, having a bit of a snooze or having a bit of a rest, somebody open the door, banging the door, in and out, talking. You don't want anybody in and out at all. You want a relaxing time, don't you? Like, pigeons are the same, exactly the same. Need a relax and rest.
Health is very important, but the love of home is also very important. You can have health, but without the love of home, which creates the motivation in a pigeon, you don't get the results. The Belgians, they look to the pigeon's throat and they call it the motor. You wonder why they call it the motor. But when you think about it, the throat, it's got to be called a motor, because this is how the oxygen gets into the pigeon. Without oxygen, he can't perform. It has to go into his body, into his lungs, then into his bloodstream. And then that's where the energy comes from. I think it's been found that a pigeon beats his wings in 1 hour 35,000 times. That's a hell of a lot of work. The oxygen has got to come into the body to help him do this. He's got to fill his air sacs, breathe out, breathe in, fill his air sacs, breathe out, breathe in. I think he has to do that every time he flaps his wings. So everything must be 100%. So the more perfect that pigeon's throat is, the more perfect the motor is. It's very important when you look at the throat of a pigeon, that the pigeon is calm. I like to close all the cockbirds in their nest box the evening before, and then go in the loft the following morning with my book and take each one carefully in my hand. When I open a pigeon's mouth, which I must stress, you have to do very, very carefully. You don't go in it like a bull in a china shop and wrench the pigeon's mouth open. You look very carefully and you look to the back of the mouth. And at the back of the mouth there is a curtain. And the curtain is in 2 parts, just like they've been pulled together. What you want is one where they're put together and hanging dead straight, and you can barely see the line. Open a little bit, doesn't matter too much, but hanging at a wrong angle and open too wide, creased, no. It's got to be right straight in the middle, a line, and the curtain nice and even both sides. And that is the perfect throat. And you don't see too many. You don't see too many.
Get my main racing system, just email me direct. I'm an experienced ex-pigeon racer from England, and I can offer valuable insights and guidance on all aspects of pigeon racing, from breeding to racing. During my racing days, I managed a small team of no more than 70 pigeons, including stock, young birds, and old birds. It was not uncommon for me to send as few as 6 birds to a race and still secure the top 3 positions out of up to 2,500 pigeons in my club and federation. My race distances typically ranged up to 300 miles, and I consistently achieved top 5 placements in my club. My expertise extends to the art of selecting excellent breeders, including evaluating pigeons based on their eye sign characteristics. I firmly believe that true champions can only be bred from top quality stock, and I can guide you in identifying and acquiring such pigeons. I understand that many pigeons for sale are advertised based on their lineage or pedigree, but I emphasize the importance of assessing the bird itself rather than relying solely on paperwork. As part of my offer, I invite you to share photos of your pigeons, including their eye sign and wing characteristics. I'll provide you with free advice on racing and breeding based on my extensive experience and knowledge. Additionally, I will share auction links to high-quality breeding birds that have the potential to produce winners in your loft. Here's what you can expect to receive from me. A comprehensive Word document containing valuable insights and strategies for successful pigeon racing, including specific racing methods for both old and young birds, as well as general advice. Private YouTube videos sent to your email, covering various aspects of pigeon racing, from breeding to race preparation. Detailed recommendations on supplements and additives to add to your pigeon's drinking water, with scientific evidence supporting their effectiveness. Similar products are used by professional athletes and racehorses to enhance performance. Assurance that your pigeons will race home faster, provided that you have quality birds to begin with.